We've all been there. You have this incredible idea at work, something you just know could be a total game changer. But how do you convince the people who hold the purse strings that it's actually worth the investment? Well, that whole journey, from a great idea to an approved project, it really hinges on one single critical document.
And this really gets to the heart of a classic business dilemma, right? You can have two projects that look amazing on paper. One becomes this massive success, and the other just crashes and burns. What's the difference? Well, a lot of the time, it's not about the project itself. It's about the homework that was or wasn't done before even a single dollar was spent.
And that homework is exactly what we're talking about today, the project business case. Think of it as the documented strategic answer to one really simple question. Is this project really worth doing? It's the tool that makes sure you're picking the right battles to fight in the first place.
So what is it, technically speaking? A project business case is a formal feasibility study. Its entire reason for being is to justify investing in a project by laying out all the expected benefits, clear as day. It's the evidence, the argument, the whole shebang that convinces decision makers to give that project the green light.
Now, this is super important. This is not a document you just write once, get it signed, and then forget about. No way. It's a living document. It's the North Star for the entire project. At every single stage, you should be able to look back at it and ask, hey, are we still on track to deliver the value we promised? It becomes the ultimate yardstick for what success actually looks like.
All right, so how do you actually build one of these things? Well, it really boils down to 4 core elements. These give you a clear, logical structure for making your argument. So let's dive in and break them down.
The whole process just flows so logically. First, you have to define the need. Why are we even talking about this? Then, you analyze the situation and all your options. Based on all that deep thinking, you make a recommendation. And finally, you plan for the evaluation to prove it was all worth it in the end. It really tells a complete story, from problem to solution to results.
Step 1 is all about the why. What is the problem we're trying to solve here? Or what's the big opportunity we're trying to grab? Who does this affect? It's kind of like planning a vacation. Before you start looking at flights or hotels, you first have to agree that, hey, the family's burnt out and we really need a break. That's the business need.
Now, this next step, the analysis, this is where the magic happens. This is where your case is truly won or lost. It's easily the most rigorous evidence-based part of the whole process, and it's what separates a wishful idea from a really sound business proposal.
So during the analysis, you're doing a few key things. You're looking inward, asking, how does this project line up with our company's goals, and what's the real root cause of the issue? Then you're looking forward. You identify all the potential risks and define what a successful outcome actually looks like. And finally, you set up the objective criteria you'll use to make your decision.
And a huge part of that analysis is structuring your decision criteria. A great way to do it is to break them down into 3 tiers. You've got your mandatory criteria. These are the absolute must-haves, the non-negotiables. Then you have the desirable ones, the should-haves that add a ton of value. And finally, the optional criteria, the nice-to-haves that can really set one option apart from another. This whole framework just forces you to be crystal clear about your priorities.
Okay, so once your criteria are set, you start evaluating your big strategic options. And honestly, they almost always boil down to one of these 3 choices. First, you can do nothing. That's the business-as-usual option, where the project just gets rejected. Second, you can do the minimum, which basically means you only tackle those mandatory must-have requirements. Or third, you can do more than the minimum and create a much more comprehensive solution that includes some of those desirable or optional features.
After all that heavy lifting in the analysis, you are finally ready for step 3, the recommendation. This is where you make your chosen path explicit. You're not just saying what you recommend, but you're also outlining all the key assumptions, the metrics for success, and the high-level milestones needed to actually make it happen. This is where you present a clear, confident plan of attack.
And finally, we have step 4, evaluation. Now this part is so often overlooked, but it's absolutely what closes the loop. This section describes exactly how the organization is going to measure the benefits the project delivers after it's all said and done. It's basically your promise that you're going to follow up and prove that the investment paid off.
Okay, so we've done all the work, and our business case is approved. Woohoo! What happens next? Let's take a quick look at where this document fits into the bigger picture of the project lifecycle.
A super common point of confusion is the difference between a business case and a project charter. But think of it this way. The business case answers the question, why? Why should we do this project? It's the justification. Once that's approved, the project charter is created, and it answers what the project is and how it's going to get done. So, real simple, the case justifies and the charter authorizes.
So what actually kicks off the need for a business case in the first place? Well, it can be some kind of external pressure, like new market demand or a specific customer request. Or it could be an internal driver, like we just need to improve our efficiency. Sometimes it's a response to change, like a new piece of technology or a new legal requirement. Any one of these can be the spark that gets the whole process started.
As we start to wrap this up, I really want you to think about the business case as more than just a piece of bureaucratic paperwork. It's not about checking a box. It is fundamentally a tool for strategic thinking.
You know, this quote from the source material absolutely nails it. A business case isn't just for getting a project off the ground, it's for guiding it from the very beginning to the very end. It's the anchor that keeps the project tied to its original objectives and ultimately proves its value.
And that right there, that is the ultimate takeaway. The goal of writing a business case isn't just to get someone to say yes. It's to force a really rigorous strategic conversation that makes sure the organization is investing its precious time, money, and talent on the projects that actually matter the most. It's about working smarter, not just harder.
So the next time you're championing a new idea, remember this whole process. The real question isn't just, is this a good idea? It's how can I build a powerful, evidence-based case that proves its value?